Hello, all. So, I wanted to talk about the lifestyle, the salary, self care of counselors in related professions. Um, I've done a video on this before, but I do want to talk more about the self care aspect of counseling because there is such a huge lack of self care opportunity when you are a counselor. And this is more so when you are working in an organization, an agency, a counseling agency or organization. When you get into private practice, it's a whole lot easier to make your own schedule and provide yourself with more self care. However, when you are working in an organization, especially when you're first starting out, you don't have a whole lot of opportunity for self care. And your salary is often quite low. As you can see here, mental health counselors get about $42,000 a year. Rehabilitation counselors, all of these counselors, it averages about 40, some odd $1,000, and that's really not enough money. The requirements to become a counselor, a therapist, a social worker are constantly going up. When I was considering becoming a counselor years ago, the requirements were only 36 hours. So you had to do a program. Programs were 36 hours, and then you get out and do your postgraduate hours. Then it went up to 48 hours, and then now it's 60 to 65 hours. Now, I have heard some discussions about it going up to 72 hours. Now, not only is the program requirement they are going up, but also the postgraduate hours are also going up. It used to be around 2,000 and then it went up to 3,000. In some states, it's a whole lot more than that. I think it's upwards to 4,500 in some states. So it takes a lot longer to get your full license as a counselor or therapist or social worker. Um, the programs are longer. However, the salary is not matching up with the progressing requirements it is taking to become one of these professionals. When it comes to self care, it's very hard to gain self care in the counseling field simply because caseloads are always very high. And that leads to burnout. Caseloads are high. And so, one other aspect is that there's always a lot of paperwork. And when you are first starting off with most jobs, you go through a probationary period where you don't even start accruing hours time off, paid time off until like 3 months after you start working. So you go through that probationary period and then you start accruing hours. So how do you get yourself self care when you can't even have a day off when you want to take one? It takes a time to accrue that time, and then when you do start accruing it, it's like 6 hours a pay period. Some may be a little bit more, but a lot of the time it's just about 6 hours of pay. It's not even a full day of off that you start accruing. And then, at a lot of these organizations and agencies, there's no self care days. So they don't have any self care days incorporated into, your job. So you have to wait to accrue that time. Um, the thing is that self care is talked about a whole lot, and it is going to continue to be talked about a lot because there is a lack thereof. not only in the human services field, but also in the health field. Doctors always talk about, physician burnout, and with counselors, therapists, social workers, it's the same thing. Burnout is always high. You're underappreciated. You're paid, and you're overworked. No one should have 50 clients on their caseload. It's too many clients, and it becomes, well, you're just playing a numbers game because you have to meet each client a certain amount of times a month, and then you're scrambling around to try to meet with them, and it's a game. You really shouldn't have so many clients that you are literally scrambling to meet with them by the end of the month. It's too many clients, and it's not fair to the clients because you're trying to, hurry the counseling session along so that you can go meet with somebody else. It's not fair to them. They should not be rushed in a session. And you as a counselor shouldn't have to do that. But with having to meet them a certain amount of times per month, and then having so many clients, and then trying to do your paperwork, it's way too much. And I really honestly, I think that you should have 20 to 30 clients. That's a lot more manageable. You should not have 40 to 50 clients. It's too much. And one of the biggest contributors is that you have to, do a lot of paperwork. And so you feel more like a case manager than a counselor. You're spending, 30 to 45 minutes with your client, and then you're doing all of this paperwork, for that session. And, then you're doing intakes and whatever else you have to do. And then if you do groups, then you have to do that, do paperwork for that. So it's a whole lot to manage as a counselor. And I think that the advocacy for salary and self-care is really going to have to come from the organizations. They're really going to have to be the ones to advocate for their employees. When they are writing these grants, they're going to have to advocate for that a higher salary. They're gonna have to explain that, in order to become a counselor, it's requiring more hours in the program. It's requiring more postgraduate hours, because, especially if you cannot get a job, you have to pay for those hours. You have to pay somebody. A lot of the times you have to pay somebody to supervise you, and that's costly because they're taking, away from their clients to supervise you. And so you have to pay for that a lot of the time. You know, I mean, you are very fortunate if you can find someone who will not charge you, but most of the time they're going to charge you a little fee. So, and that could be either weekly or that could be monthly. Just all depends on, what they want to do. So again, these organizations, they really have to start advocating. They really have to start building in some self-care days for their counselors. Otherwise, the turnover is going to constantly be high. The because of the lack of self-care, being able to have self-care, and then the salaries are just not matching up with the requirements to become a counselor. So let me know what you all think. And I will be back soon with more videos. Thank you.